People's representative.
We will call the meeting to order. Madam Town Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Jennifer Clark. Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo. William Diedick.
Here.
James Morelli.
Here.
Toni Morrison.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Jack Perry.
Here.
Paul Chaplinsky.
Here. Okay, will you please stand for the prayer and the flag salute?
Heavenly Father, open our eyes this evening to the truth and reality of every situation that we encounter. Give us solutions that are the best for our community now and in the future. Keep your hand upon Southington and continue to make her great. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. And if I can just have Daniel. Daniel's agreed to come up and help us with the flag salute. Daniel, if you don't mind just telling us your name and tell everybody why you decided to join the meeting today.
I'm Daniel Decal, and the whole reason why I'm here for the meeting is because I'm a Boy Scout in Troop 32, and I'm here for a requirement for one of my merit badges.
Excellent. Welcome to the meeting. If you don't mind starting us off in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. And thank you, Daniel. Okay. We need a motion and a second on the town council meeting minutes from Monday, November 13th.
I'll make a motion to,
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, November 13th of the last council meeting.
Okay.
Second.
So Chris and Mike, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries 7-0. Reports of special committees, library building, councilperson communications.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I have two things. This Friday night, down on the Southington Town Green at 5:30, there's the annual tree lighting, and this year, there's going to be a lot of extras. There's going to be, Santa Claus is going to be making an appearance. There's going to be music. There is going to be some choir singing by the Southington High School cheerleaders. It's going to be a great event. Starts at 5:30. We're going to light the green. We're going to have a blast. Come on down and join us. Dawn Maselli is kind of heading it up, but the Southington Recreation Department is also there. They're selecting a young member of Southington to.
We did that today.
Okay, it was selected today, but announced tomorrow, I guess, of who's going to be pushing the button to light the tree. So we're all very, very excited. I know last year, we all worked hard to kind of upgrade some of the lights down in the town green, so we're very excited to do that. And then secondly, tomorrow night, let's get out and support the Southington High School football team. They're going to be playing in Manchester tomorrow night at 6:30. So if you have a free evening tomorrow night, go down to Manchester and check out the SHS Blue Knights football team playing Manchester for the playoffs. If they win, I believe they play again on Sunday. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mike. And I heard there's a special person who might be driving the train during the Christmas
I'm going
event.
to give out all the surprises.
Okay, anybody
We'll
else?
enjoy the train ride.
Councilperson communication. Jack.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if we could add to the agenda, under old business, item D, continuing the discussion of the legal opinion on the minority leader.
Okay, so last meeting, this is from the discussion from last meeting.
Correct.
We have an opinion from the town's attorney who will discuss that during his report, but you want to have a discussion under item D. So what we'll need is a motion and a second to add the agenda item.
I make a motion to add that to the agenda under old business, item D.
Okay?
I'll second.
Second, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries 7-0 to add under old business, item D, continuation of discussion of minority lead. Okay, thank you. Other councilperson communications. Chris?
A couple things. First of all, today had a Southington High School roof, the roof replacement building committee meeting. So for the next council meeting, we'll need an action item, but have some very good news from that as far as the bids. But if we can add that to the next agenda, obviously it was too late for today. The meeting was this afternoon. So if we could add that on the next agenda.
Just for the town manager?
Yeah,
What's the action
Mr.
item?
Romano, the action will be approving the architect.
Architect, thank you.
Yeah. Second, just to report out, Paul, I know you're intimately familiar as well. The farmland restoration grant has been complete, the work has been completed, and the grant has been submitted to the state of Connecticut. So we were able to, for those of you, Tony, I know you're new, so you might not be familiar, we added and increased the amount of growing land at Leaf. It is the town of Southington property, so we applied for a grant, and so that is completed. Mark Ramsey finished everything. The applications is into the state, so I'll keep you posted on that, but that's a good news update. And then I have a couple updates from STEPS. First of all, just a huge shout out, Megan and Kristen are staff members with STEPS. They presented a workshop at the annual Connecticut Youth Services Association Conference. Almost 80 people signed up for the workshop and over 40 attended. So they did various presentations, including a vaping presentation. It's great to see Southington getting representation at these workshops across the state. Thanks to our stewardship from our partners at Charge Ahead Marketing, STEPS won another award. The website relaunch received 2 silver awards at the Davie Awards. That brings us to a total of 3 wins for the STEPS website, which is fantastic. STEPS and the Southington Police Department received an additional $5,000 in opioid settlement funds. So that's also great news for us. And finally, Enfield and Coventry are on to the next steps of putting the C3 curriculum into their communities. C3, if you're not familiar, again, is the program that STEPS launched with STEPS and the Southington Police Department, kind of to replace the DARE program that was formerly instituted in the schools. So 2 other towns are interested in seeing what Southington has to offer with that too. So just some great things, and I needed to share such positive feedback with the community.
Thank you, Chris. It's so great to hear the positive things that STEPS is doing in the community. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other councilperson communications? Okay, if there's none, I just have one. I had the privilege of attending the Interfaith Thanksgiving Gathering, which was held at the Mormon Church on, let's see, I think it's on Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, next to the Dominic and Vinnie's. And it was a gathering of all the faiths in Southington, which was really nice, everybody who could make it. It was an opportunity for just reflection, listening to each other, respecting each other's different views, and sharing at the ceremony. And I had the privilege of presenting a Thanksgiving Day proclamation for everybody that attended there. So that was really nice. So thanks to all the clergy who were involved in putting that together in our community. Okay, if there's no other councilperson communications, we'll go on to reports of special committees. Library Building Committee, A, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Progress continues in the library. This week, the second floor was, concrete was poured on the deck. The first floor is anticipated in the next 2 weeks, and wall build-out will begin. We don't have a meeting until next week, and the subcommittee is meeting this week to further discuss the finishes and the final appearance of the building.
Excellent. Any questions? Mr. Town Manager, all set?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First
Okay,
item I have is-
sorry, I didn't mean, I was just wondering if you had questions. My apologies. So we'll go to item 5, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, sure.
The Board of Finance minutes, there's 2 areas I'd like you to take a look at. The first one is on page 3. This is a very positive note. Through October, we're $1,148,000 to the plus in our revenues. The vast majority of that is interest income. As you probably are aware, when I did the budget based upon interest rates that were in existence at that time. Interest rates have gone up, so therefore our interest income has gone up. Of course, that could mean, obviously, as we go further through the year, they may go down again, but at this particular case, we're in good shape at that aspect of it. The second item I have, as the council knows, the council voted unanimously to move forward to replace AMR with Hartford Healthcare. As I informed you, AMR, through their legal right, are challenging the council's decision to move from AMR to Hartford Healthcare. We have special counsel working closely with our corporation counsel. The corporation counsel has asked for additional funding, which the Board of Finance approved, $70,000. I wish I could say that's going to be the last time you see this. It will not be. These things are going to be taking a while. My understanding is we've already had 1 or 2 hearing dates. We'll probably have 2 or 3 more hearing dates, but this is something that's part of the process. And as you know, if we're successful, we're going to save about $2.6 million over 3 years. So any questions on Board of Finance?
Any questions on Board of Finance? I have one on page 3, Mark. Can we, financial assessment, it says building permits and fees. Is that supposed to be 690,000? Because there's a period instead of a comma?
No, that's not $690,000. $690,000 is the interest income. That's probably $69,000.
Right, so if we can just correct the
Board of
six.
Finance will correct it at their next meeting.
Okay. I know.
Yes, I'm glad to see Tom is moved on to the new council. I like that. No, that's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll tell Mr. Bozie you missed that one.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions on the Board of Finance? Okay, item B.
Okay, I'm going to take this one a little bit slowly. As you directed all of us at the last meeting, Mr. Chair, to go through the policies and procedures, I received several emails. Chair, you received several emails. We got together last week, Tuesday or Wednesday, and we went through each one of them. So I'm going to go through them by page. A lot of them are more housekeeping matters, and then there was issues about the actual structure of our subcommittee. So let me go through the first one.
Mark, just for housekeeping, is it okay if we go page by page and maybe pause at each page, and if anybody has questions about the items on that specific page, that'll make the approval process a little bit easier later on?
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm on page 2. As you remember, the blue is additions, the red is subtractions. So if you look at it, what we added in there, and I forget who picked this one up, but it was a good pickup. Obviously, it says that taxpayers can speak if they are recognized by the chair, but they can't speak during a motion and a second, because that's not proper. So I forget which one of you picked that one up, but we added prior to a motion and a second, qualified taxpayers to go from there. Now, there's a reason, and this is why I think I had a discussion with the chair and at least one other member of the council. There is an opportunity. It's very rare, but as you know, we have public communication. But there is an opportunity during a discussion after that, if someone from the public has something to say that's vital to that particular aspect that's in front of you, the chair has the right to have that person, if they want to discuss something on that after public communication, the chair then has that right to do that. That's always been in our procedures. It's not used very often, but usually that takes place when the town staff member is here and there's a question. For instance, our public works director is here and somebody has a question on it. That's something that the chair can then say, oh, we have our public works director, they can speak during this process.
Can I ask a question about that?
Of course.
Is that okay? Shouldn't it be after a motion and second is made during the discussion phase where you would recognize?
No, because the problem is Robert's rules is pretty clear. Once a motion and a second is made, only the people who vote can have a discussion during that point. Okay? Ex
Okay.
officios can speak if we're requested to speak, but members of the audience are blocked out once you have a motion and a second.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
just have one question on that then. So it says qualified electors or taxpayers. Shouldn't it also include town staff? In the event the town staff is not, an elector or a taxpayer in the town of Southington.
Yeah.
I have no
think-
problem with that.
Everybody okay adding that?
That'll be
Because they
part
could
of-
be from out of town, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We do allow occasionally a staff member to live out of town. Not
So
a-
qualified electors, town staff members,
Or taxpayers, yeah. And that would be part of the motion when you get to that point.
sounds good. Okay,
All right, E was an obvious one that somehow it survived all these years. It says if the chair allows them to speak, they have unlimited time, and once they're recognized, they do not have to give up the floor. So obviously, that part was taken out. That could be a filibuster, which we don't have. All right, any questions on page 2? Page 3. This is mainly some discussions as to adding a committee that was not in here, which is now a standing committee, and also changing some of the committees. So I'll let the chair answer any questions you have on some of those, mainly because they're more structural. Our goal was to remove town staff from voting members, and that's what we were talking about. So economic development, Mr. Chair, would you like to discuss that part of it?
Yes, so on economic development, let's see, town council chairperson or their designee, that was really just housekeeping, because we do have instances where the town council or the chairperson does designate for this committee. Town council minority leader of their, or council member designee, it's just a minority leader or their designee, again, housekeeping. PZC chairperson, economic development coordinator was removed, and then they were included at the end as ex officio. Town manager or designee, then we added one Board of Finance member. We actually had a Board of Finance member on this in the past, but we didn't actually have it in the rules. So we wanted to make sure we were capturing the Board of Finance member here. And then a town resident as well. So we've added Board of Finance and town resident. We've moved the Director of Planning and Community Development and the Development Coordinator, Economic Development Coordinator to ex officio members. So still on there. Okay?
The other one was my suggestion for emergency medical services. We actually had our vendor as voting members, which doesn't make a lot of sense, so I recommended to the chair that we go from 10 to 8, and the two members of our vendor, which is the ambulance service provider, will become ex officio members and not voting members. Questions on that? Open space, 9 members, Mr. Chair.
Yes, open space, we went from 10 to 9. We did have a member of the public in the past, so we've taken that role out and went back to 9. We had 9 before, and we're back at 9. And then 2 members of the farming community. Really, we invite the farming community into the meeting to give opinions, but we really haven't had them as voting members, so it made sense to just remove them from the committee as a whole.
The next one is ordinance review. I believe Val recommended that we add this, and so the chair. This was an ad hoc committee over the last probably 4 councils. Now this is going to be becoming your policies and procedures, and it's structured exactly the way the ad hoc committee was formed. Questions on page 3?
Any questions on ordinance before? I wanted to go back to Apple Harvest if it was okay.
Okay.
We wanted to reflect for the Apple Harvest Advisory Committee 5 voting members and move, instead of 7, and move the ex officio for the town manager designee and highway parks. They'll still participate. I don't think there's a lot of, not a big issue. It'd become a 5-member committee. In fact, it's more of an advisory type of a committee, right? You're good with that, Chris? Okay. Okay.
And that would be also part of your vote.
Yep.
Page 4, Public Works. We added, actually, this is housekeeping. It's the manager or their designee. That's an ex officio member, and then you take out the, I'm not sure we took out that, but
There was 2 of those.
the 2 of those, that's why we took it out. Okay. Any questions on that? Self-insurance, we added voting when it came to 9 members. It just said 9 members. We put 9 voting members. Sewer Committee, we made the Public Works Director and the Town Manager, Public Works Director, an ex officio, and you're adding a town resident to that.
Correct, which we had a town resident on there before, so this is just reflected in the policy that the town resident is there.
Number 10, I'll leave for the town attorney. Okay, obviously, we renumbered because we're adding one in there, so those are renumbered.
And for the record, item 10 for the town attorney will be held under town attorney's report.
All right, we're on page 5 now. We replacing wireless telephone with cell phone. And then we're taking a new section in there. Mr. Chair, would you want to handle that one?
Yes, gladly. This is,
It's your baby.
this is one that gives a little bit of anxiety to all of us who are living in the digital age, but we're going to try to move away from personal electronic devices on the dais. So it reads that no town council member shall use personal electronic devices, including phones, tablets, computers, except those issued by the town manager or his designee in the meeting. And what we're going to, so, we're not receiving any types of communications, text messages, a lot of phones are buzzing up here throughout the meeting. It's quite distracting. And we owe it to the residents of this community to pay attention, do what we're doing here on the dais. So I also recognize, however, that, we have a need to access, somebody needs to do a Google search, they look up a map, they're looking, maybe they keep their packet online. So the town manager has agreed to help us out, and much like some of the other
Exactly.
boards.
We have, we'll treat it like planning and zoning. Planning and zoning, everyone has their own personal devices from the town.
Right.
So what'll happen is that, assuming everything goes forward between Kathy and myself, you'll have the devices in front of you before the meeting, just like at planning and zoning. Kim from my office will download all the material onto
A shared drive.
called a Google Drive, I guess,
Yep.
or whatever it's called. Don't let me go too far on that one. But anyway, the fact of the matter is to download the information on that, and it'll all be available. We'll do it exactly the way planning and zoning did it. They're actually been doing it for 2 years, or 3 years now. It's been-
Yeah, more than that, yeah.
It's been very successful, so that's the technology part I'll handle, and we'll go from there.
So if you want to, if you still want a hard copy packet, we'll make arrangements to have a hard copy packet, but everybody will have access to the packet and all of the information on a shared drive. We'll have a shared drive that says town council, and each meeting will have its own folder. And we'll be able to go in there, and everybody will have it on their tablet. We can pull it up, use that. We'll have access to the internet if we need to research things during the meeting and things like that. But this way here, it's a town-issued device, and we're not on our personal devices.
Is-
I know it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first, and let's see how it goes.
So I'm wondering, is maybe there a compromise and we take out personal phones and tablets, but a computer, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get your point, but I literally use my computer
I know.
for,
I know.
Items that are
The thought is that,
and-
you have access to personal emails there and communications on your device, just like anybody would on their phone. So the thought is, if we all are on the same playing field and we're all issued a device that has all the same information on it, that would be more appropriate than people bringing their own devices. Because if you're using your laptop, then somebody's going to want their iPad and somebody's going to want their phone because they do searches and they look at their own documents there. Everything that you need, you can put on the shared drive. So you'll have access to the shared drive. If you have content that you want to download to that shared drive yourself, you can create a folder for yourself and put it on there. Let's see how it goes. I would propose that we try it. I do think that,
Yeah, the section for debate is coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, certainly, if there's questions, this is the part where I'll answer the questions specifically on them, and then if you wish to debate those, there comes up,
Fair.
you have a section for that.
Any other questions on this?
Page 6, we're just renumbering. Page 7, we're renumbering. Page 8, we're doing some renumbering. And page 9, we're making things,
there's one change.
I'm sorry,
page
we're in-
8, Quarterly to
oh,
monthly.
yeah, I'm sorry. Kathy has always been doing this, but we had it wrong. We were saying that we rotated the roll call on a quarterly basis. It's always been a monthly basis, so we're changing it to what we actually do.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy. And then we're taking out the language to be consistent on page 9. And that's, once again, the wireless telephone. And then page 10 is no changes at all. And later on the agenda will be for debate and vote. And my suggestion, we vote on each, as a page by page, we vote that way.
So we'll save that because the town attorney will come back to this under his report after item C, which we're now on,
Not yet, not yet.
almost.
The next thing I have is a 824 referral, and let me just briefly, everybody, I'm sure, knows the process, but it's a new council. So under Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, the town is required, anytime there's an improvement on municipal property, to go through that process. The process is it comes to the council first. If the council wishes to move forward with it, it sends to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviews it to make sure it meets the plan of development, and then it comes back to the council for a final vote. This is one where there's actually going to be an improvement to town property. As you can see, the water department is asking to put 495 feet of a new 12-inch water main on West Queen Street between Queen Street and Newell. That being said, my recommendation is to vote to send it to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their advice. Any questions on that? And that is my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Okay, item 6, Town Attorney's Report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, as I'm so used to saying. As everyone on the council knows, that I was asked to give a legal opinion as it relates to minority leadership and the designation of that individual. I had the opportunity to research that. I did provide the individual who asked for it, as well as the chairman, who also followed up the following day with a request in that regard. I won't go through all of the analysis and conclusion, but I'll surmise by saying that for all intents and purposes, this was a case of first impression. There has never been a policy or procedure in place. Historically, well, at least starting in roughly 2011, an individual was designated from the minority party as a minority leader. In 2015 or thereabouts was the first time that it actually made its way to the agenda. The label that was used at that time was appointment as opposed to designation. We may be splitting hairs, but the words between appointment and designation have significant difference in interpretation. I'm of the mindset that the term appointment was probably used in error or synonymous with designation, that I think historically, and not just pre-2011, when it really wasn't recognized per se, but since that time, it's always been more of a designation than it has been an appointment. But provided Mr. Perry, as well as the chairman, an opinion on how I believe it's gone down, or how I know it's gone down for the past 20-some-odd years, and more importantly, some suggestions as to how we can avoid this becoming an issue in the future, should it ever rear its ugly head again. I believe that the proposed language, or most of it, was provided in section 10 of the policies and procedure amendment, or the manual itself. I'd be happy to read that, although I'm pretty confident the council as a whole has already done so, since it was passed out some time ago. And again, specifically, it's section 10, which is the bottom of page 4. I would recommend, which obviously it's on here for action, that the council as a whole, after done debating, certainly make that change. Now, the good news is it's not been something that's been a regular or reoccurring issue. The bad news is it leads to a certain degree of uncertainty and more difficulty or more work for not just the council, but the town manager as well. So with any luck, we can perhaps resolve that issue, not just if it is still present in the dais, but for future councils to come.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I do a clarification maybe for those who haven't read it?
Of course.
And ask you to maybe just comment if I have this correct. So reading through this, if I were to summarize the minority lead designation, I see it in three steps. The first step is the minority caucus of the town council has the responsibility to designate their minority lead during the organizational meeting, the first
If I
organizational
stop you
meeting,
there, it would actually prior to the organizational meeting.
prior to the
Proposed
organizational
language
meeting.
was prior to the first meeting of the new council. The minority party should designate a leader.
And it's-
How they do it is entirely, up to my opinion and my proposed language, is it's entirely up to the minority party how they go about doing that.
The minority council party.
I'm sorry, council party. The party itself, in my opinion, does not play a role in this.
Right.
And never has. And it's similar in the national level, which I'm not suggesting we need to mirror.
Right.
But it would only make sense that we follow a mold that has already been tried and true.
Okay. And then the second part of that is, in the event that there's no agreement, your suggestion is to default to the minority council member who has the most tenure.
That's correct. That
And-
would be, rather than agreement, no majority vote amongst the minority.
Correct.
So if nobody can come to an agreement, they're unable or unwilling to do so, for whatever reason, it's irrelevant, then there's a default provision and it automatically triggers.
And then the third step that I've understood from what you've proposed here is that the minority caucus of the town council can at any time change their designee with just declaring at one of the meetings that they have an agreement of the majority of the minority caucus, and they can change it. But if it doesn't get changed, then it stays for the term of this council.
That's correct. I think that you, as is clearly written, I believe clearly written in my proposed language as well as the proposed amendment, the premise is whoever is named as a minority leader will stay for the entire term of this sitting council. Now, there is sort of a mechanism in place if the default provision has been triggered, meaning that the individual with the highest or longest tenure is named as minority leader. The presumption, again, is that that individual will stay and serve in that capacity throughout the entire course of this council, until the next election, obviously. However, if the minority party, and I'm referring to council, makes a decision unilaterally to say, I don't want, we're going to make this change, and there's a majority opinion of the minority council members, then that individual can step down, for lack of a better term, and a new minority leader can serve.
Thanks. Sure.
So maybe we can save a future council some time. Can we stress test this? What if there's two minority members with the same tenure and no agreement?
Chairman and I spoke about that, and I believe Mr. Perry and I spoke briefly about that. And I believe, speaking only for myself, that there was a double default. So that if there were two serving with the same amount of tenure, then it would revert to a secondary default, that who got the highest vote count in that previous immediate prior election. I think we chose to not go 4 tiers down because it's unlikely to ever reach there, but it's not a bad idea to add it should anyone on the council deem that necessary. But keep in mind, we'd have to start by having a lack of majority of the minority party. We then would have to have an ability for them to be designated, for them to designate a minority leader. We would then have the default provision, which would in turn say, hey, this person wins by default or is named as default. And even then, if the tenure were tied, we then would revert to the 4th tier or a double default, which isn't a bad idea. I just don't know if it'll ever reach that level.
Okay,
Leave it to the lawyer to come up with that, though.
excellent. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay. Are you done with the town attorney's report?
I am, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to public communications, item 7. Does anybody want to come up to the podium and tell us something good? Or give us some feedback? Going once, twice? Okay, so we will close public communication. We will move on to old business. Item A, Section 8, Item A, action on report of Board of Finance.
I'll make a motion to approve with the changes we made earlier. Is that okay, Mark, if I do that?
Actually, it's yeah, we understand the change, but the
Okay.
changes we made at the Board of
Okay.
Finance level.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Mike and Tony, any discussion on that? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, now I got to do all the work here. Item B.
Well, you get the big bucks.
Item B, adoption of permanent rules and procedures. So if it's okay, we'll go page by page. I'll just restate some of the suggestions on there. And then what I'd like to do is just get a motion in a second on whatever it is, the final language is for that page after we're done discussing it. And we'll just do page by page for the changes. So the first change is on page 2. Letter B, it was prior to a motion and second added. And then I think we also added after qualified electors, Jack mentioned town staff members to also be included, including or taxpayers. And then we struck in letter E, we struck the last sentence.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so page 2 passes 7-0. Okay, page 3, Apple Harvest was 5 voting members. We moved staff to ex officio. The quorum is 3 instead of 4, so because it's a 5-member board. Economic Development, we added or their designee after the council chairperson. We struck the language council member, but we kept the designee for minority lead, so that was just housekeeping. Economic Development Coordinator and the Director of Planning and Community Development was moved to ex officio, and we added 1 Board of Finance member and a town resident for economic strike. Emergency Services, we made the 2 representative of the ambulance service as ex officio. Open Space, we moved it to 9 voting members by removing 1 member of the public, and we also struck the provision for adding members of the farming community. I'd like to take the ordinance, okay, we also added the ordinance review committee of 9 voting members, the entire language there at the end of page 3. Any discussion on that before we get a motion? Okay, so then we need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve?
Mike
Second.
and Bill. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0 on page 3. Some housekeeping on page 4, Public Works. We struck the second "the." We added "or their designee" after the town manager, some housekeeping there. Self-insurance was housekeeping by putting the word "voting" in after 9 members. Sewer, we moved Public Works and town manager as ex officio. And we added a town resident. And then if it's okay, let's take item 10 separately at the bottom of this page. At the bottom of page 4 is the minority lead discussion. Let's hold that one for now. If we can just get a motion and a second on the others,
Motion to approve changes for page 4, absent or minus the minority leader.
which is section 10. Okay.
Second.
Any discussion on this page? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 7-0 on page 4. Is it okay, should we keep going on this and go back to item 10? Is that okay? Let's do that, just because there may be some discussion there.
You have carte blanche.
So we're going to skip over 10 for now, and let's go to the new item 12, decorum and order. No person shall talk on we struck wireless telephone and added cell phone. It already says similar devices, and then the provision about council members not using personal electronic devices, but with the understanding that we will issue town-issued electronic devices and give everybody access to the things they need.
Can I just suggest a compromise of at least our own computers? I get the cell phone, I mean, like you said, let's give it a try. Maybe we do that, but again, there's just a familiarity with your own device. I mean, I'm using it for looking up town business, you know, so is there a way to, again, compromise? We had everything before. I mean, it's 2023. It just seems like we're going backwards a little bit.
So I'll piggyback off that. I'm the youngest on the dais, and again, I don't have Snapchat and all those things that, you know, a lot of the younger generations have, but at the same time, my cell phone is, you know, my go-to for emails, my notes. I even have a tablet, but I don't need to bring my tablet because my cell phone does all that. So I try to utilize technology to my fullest. I think us as elected officials, we need to be respectful to our residents and each other on this dais. So obviously, you know, unless there's business or emergency situations with our families, I don't think any of us are up here abusing that. Again, based on my first term on the council, I haven't seen that. So I'm just kind of against that. We're kind of, you know, restricting technology and then wasting money or efforts to get a laptop that's not our own, unless, again, everybody's going to get a tablet that then's foyable, then that's an option. But we need to have the tools, in my opinion, you know, again, moving forward, to do our jobs the best that we can. It's kind of like my routes with my garbage trucks. We used to run paper routes. Now we use tablets, and we were ransomwared once, and we were lost without that. We went back to paper, and drivers were lost. So again, just somebody that, you know, embraces technology. I just think it's kind of a little overstepping. That's all.
Mike?
Yeah, oh,
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Tony.
Tony.
yeah, just, yeah, I mean, this is the first time in 30 years I've been in a meeting without a device in front of me, you know, since the early 90s. And it's a bit weird for me, but I don't see a problem. If we're going to have a device in front of us that gives us everything we would need to do, which we'll have all the town stuff, and we'll have the ability to access the internet for various reasons. What else would we need other than that? So I'm okay as long as we have those devices in front of us. I'm fine with it.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
and that was my first thought. I need something, because I've used an iPad always when I came up here, because I don't like the paper. And I was chairperson of the Planning and Zoning Commission when we first got those tablets, and they're great. They have everything that we need. We've had workshops where the gentleman from UConn has come down and told us that we should not be using our personal devices up here because we can get in big trouble for it. So I'm okay with trying it and giving it a shot. I think you guys, I don't know if you've ever used the tablets or the laptops that they give the Planning and Zoning Commission, those are the ones that we're using, correct? The Chromebooks, right. They have everything you need. You can do a Google search on it. You could, look up information if you have to do a map or something. So I say we give it a shot. Phone's in my hand all the time. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything wrong up there by using our personal devices. So I'm okay with giving it a shot.
For the record, Mike was the first to fall out of his chair when I mentioned it. Okay. Other comments?
I'd like to comment that I also used the Chromebook on P and Z, and I found it actually pretty good, because it was structured such that all the previous meeting notes were there, the maps and the applications were there. It was easier to find in that format than it would have been for me to find on my own. And again, I just think the focus is more if you don't have another device that you could be looking at.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah, so for me, it was really about the personal electronic devices. I think it's for everybody to be on the same playing field. We're all issued a town one. Jack, you mentioned about costs. That definitely was something that I considered when I looked into this. The laptops that would be provided to us are already existing. They're the same ones that were issued to the other boards. So it would be just a matter of pulling those laptops out already and issuing them to us as well. So there's no new purchases required for us. I would ask, as before we go into the vote here, I would just say, I understand the perspective. I know it's a little bit uncomfortable. I'm willing to revisit it if it doesn't work. I would ask that we try it for a couple months, let us get into the first quarter, see how it works. And if it's not working and it's really painful and, Chris, if you have a town-issued, laptop that you want to bring in, you want to modify the policy because the Board of Ed issued it, let's talk about it then. I'd like us to just try it for a little while and see how it goes. That would be my proposal.
I'll make a motion to approve as written. I don't know, but cell phone, or is it mobile phone? I know you said cell phone.
It says cell phones or similar devices. That's correct, yeah. It says no town council member shall use personal, so the key is personal electronic devices, including phones, tablets, computers.
Okay, I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
So this is to approve page 5. Again, just for clarity, there is part of item 10 on there for minority lead. That is outside of this motion. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Chris,
But I'll
okay.
shut my computer.
Next meeting.
Okay, so 6-1, your opposal is recognized, Chris. Thank you.
It won't take effect this meeting, and
Next
maybe
meeting.
not next meeting,
Yeah.
because Jay's working on it now, so now that it's been passed.
We'll target end of
Definitely by
year.
the January meeting,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll ease into it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion.
Page 6 is renumbering, Mr. Chair, you don't have to vote on that.
Yep.
Page 7 is renumbering, you don't have to vote on that.
And then page 8, just we changed quarterly to monthly on the changes of the voting ordering.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so Mike and Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 7-0 there. Page 8. Page 9, we remove the no person shall operate a wireless telephone from the appendix.
It's now included in.
It's now included in the
Now
packet.
included in the text, yes.
So do we need to vote on that still?
You
We probably should vote to remove.
on it, yeah.
So motion to approve the removal, Mike?
Second.
Second, Chris. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Let's go back to number 10, which is on page 3. I'm sorry, my bad.
Page 4.
Page 4, minority leader. We heard the details from the town's attorney with some discussion after that. Any other discussion on this before we entertain a motion? Okay, so we'll look for a motion on this.
Motion to approve.
Mike?
Second.
That's Tony?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? No discussion. Okay. All in favor of item 10?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. So I think that completes it, Mr. Town Manager, is that
It
correct?
does. We'll work on getting it, Kim and I will work on getting it out to you.
A clean copy?
Yep.
And will we include the clean copy in our meeting minutes as well? Can we include
Actually,
it?
both copies.
Both
flip it,
copies,
and
perfect.
then the clean copy will be probably at your next meeting when we give it to you.
Fine, great. So we'll get the clean copy at the next meeting for those who are watching. Okay, old business item C. We're looking for a motion to refer to planning and zoning the 824 for water main installation on West Queen Street.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the referral to planning and zoning? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Old business item D, which is the continuation of the discussion of minority lead from our previous meeting. Jack, you requested that.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to obviously be, open, transparent about this. So Chris Val and myself finally were able to caucus last evening, and we discussed this in great length and detail. And the three of us, after looking at the attorney's legal opinion and what the rules and procedures were going to be, the majority of us decided that Chris will be our minority leader. So I make a designation of Chris being our minority leader for the term of this council.
Okay. Chris, you concur?
I concur.
Okay. So then we have two. We know that Val is not here, so your designation is noted in the minutes. Any comments from the,
It's fairly implicit, but just to make certain that there are two members of the minority party that are in agreement, then we're fine.
okay. So we have two confirmed for the designation tonight. Chris is the minority lead. Okay.
Can I just want to make comments for the public's benefit. So we're missing a council person who's directly impacted by this. Should we table this, or is this a?
If I may be heard briefly on that, because this has been the crux of this issue since the last meeting and the purpose of the legal opinion. I don't have an opinion on that, nor do I have a position at the right to give you an opinion. But as long as there is a majority consensus of the minority party, it's irrelevant how many people are missing or there. I'm not suggesting the council should act or not act today. That's within your sound discretion. But we have confirmation that 2 out of the 3 are in agreement of an individual, and therefore it would make sense that the minority leader be named today. But again, that's within the council's sound discretion.
And there's really nothing to table. You just passed a rule, which is implicit, that you have 2 members of the minority out of 3, so there really isn't anything to table.
And if I may, I think we heard Jack say a little bit earlier that they caucused, so the presumption is they discussed this. Not sure if there's a 100% agreement, but coming out of that discussion, they've designated who that is. Certainly respect the comment. Certainly when Councilperson DiPaolo comes back, if something changes and the caucus decides something different, then I think it can be brought up then.
I just don't want to go 3 meetings on this issue if that's what's going to happen, and now we're arguing the same points again. If she reached out to you and said she's aware of this and that's what's going on, I'm totally fine with it, but.
She did not discuss it with me, but I'll turn it to Jack and Chris.
So yeah, we did speak about this. And again, the majority of our caucus agreed out of the 3 of us that, Chris would be the minority leader. So hypothetically, let's play it out. If there was a roll call vote even, me and Chris voted yes, and her vote at that point is kind of not, relevant because there's a 2/3 majority at that point. So right now, where it stands, we have the majority of us agreeing that Chris is our minority leader.
And that is, Mr. Chair, that is consistent with the policy and procedure that the council just passed.
Exactly. Yeah, for the note, so we passed the policy, this is consistent with the policy. I think we can move on now, unless you further object, Bill. I think we should, we'll trust the minority caucus.
When someone's not there,
Fair.
it directly impacts them, that's only was raising
Fair.
that issue.
Well, if in the event she did, let's say we couldn't come, Chris is the longest tenured at the moment. So it would default, if in the event the 3 of us couldn't, Chris is the longest tenure as well. So, but right now, the 2 of the 3 of us are here, and we're obviously stating who we want the designee to be. And I want to also thank the town attorney for obviously researching this and having a great conversation with me in detail. And, you definitely did your due diligence, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 9, new business. Tax refunds?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the tax refunds that are presented in our packet.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, appointments. So we will go to Mark, to the town manager. If it's okay, what I'll do is I'll run down these by number,
That's
each
correct.
one, and then if it's ours, we'll look for motions in second. If it's yours, we'll look for you to announce who they are.
Very good.
Okay, so appointments. Item 1, Board of Assessment Appeals, 1 member, 4-year term expiring October 2027.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a nomination for, to place Miss Kristen Ritchie, 270 Chesterwood Terrace, here in Southington, for that position.
Okay, we have a motion
I would like to second that.
and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Kristen Ritchie's appointed to Board of Assessment Appeals. I thank Barb Roberts for her service prior to Kristen. Okay, Conservation Commission, 2 members, 4-year term expiring April 2025. This is a town manager appointment.
Mr. Chair, I nominate for the first seat Tim Wilkie of 144 Scenic Drive, Southington, and for the second seat Gerald Triano of 238 Wilper Street, Southington, Connecticut. You're hereby appointed.
Thank you. They're hereby appointed. That's for items 2 and 3, and for the record,
That's just item 2.
2 members, yeah, okay. My apologies. Item 3 is the Conservation Commission alternate.
I hereby appoint Patrick LaJoy of 372 Kensington Road. That person is appointed.
Thank you. So we want to thank Wayne Stanforth, Chris Barowie, and, Dominic Perone was elected to the Water Board. Okay, so item 4, constables. Those also, they're 7 members, 2-year term expiring November 2025. Those are town manager appointments.
I hereby appoint Vincent Infante of 60 Deer Run. I hereby reappoint Michael Gaudio. I appoint Jeff Natras. I appoint David Zoni. I appoint Tyrone Correa. I appoint Andrew Clark of 104 Sissio Road, and I reappoint Michael Ferdilak. They're all reappointed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Item 5, Fire Commissioner, 1 member, 4-year term expiring November 2027.
Mr. Chair, I nominate David Canute for a reappointment.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second for Mr. David Canute to be reappointed. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, number 6, we have 2 different library directors. We're going to take them separately. Item 6 is a library director, 1 member, 4-year term expiring November 2025. This is, just correct me on this one, is this the replacement of Todd?
Yeah, Todd was elected.
Todd
so therefore
Chaplinsky.
His spot is now open.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion there.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put forth the name of Peter Santago.
We have a motion for Peter Santago
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 7, we have 6 library directors, 6 members, 4-year term expiring November 2027. Why don't we take them individually, I guess, right, Mark?
It's up to you. You can take them as
Or
a
can
group
we
if you wish.
announce them? I think,
Mr.
Chris,
Chair.
you have 2, right? Why don't we go through the names and we'll just, we'll motion them all. So why don't we, Chris, if it's okay, why don't you tell us the 2 minority party, which is replacing, it was Kristen Gaida and also Joanne Kelleher.
I'd like to put forward the name of Joanne Kelleher to be reappointed, and also Kristen Gaida is not interested in reserving. I'd like to thank her for her service and put forward the name of Vicki Reed. She's a retired educator herself. She's been very active in the library building committee process as well, so she's going to
Okay.
attend those meetings.
So you'll put those, and Mike, you want to tell
Chair,
us?
Sure. Reappointment for Miss Mary Baker, reappointment for Miss Mrs. Tina Riccio, and the reappointment for Mrs. Johanna Fergalak. Fergalak, sorry. And I can't read my own writing. And the new person is Miss Patricia Hackett from 41 Dawn Lane here in Southington.
Excellent. So if it's okay, I'll summarize, and if there's any issues, let me know, and then somebody can make the motion. So it's Mary Baker, reappointed. We're replacing Maureen Gagnon with Patricia Hackett, 41 Dawn Lane. We thank Maureen. We also thank Kristen Gaida, and we're replacing Kristen with Vicky Reed or Victoria?
Vicky
Reed.
And the address is 105 Claudia Drive.
Thank you. And Joanne Kelleher is also reappointing. Mrs. Tina Riccio, reappointment, and a reappointment of Johanna Fergalak. We're looking for a motion for those.
I'll make that motion for all
Second.
6 members.
So Mike with a motion, Chris with a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, Parking Authority, we have one, it's item number 8. We have one member, 5-year term expiring November 2028. Town Manager,
And that's a reappointment.
Yes.
It's Dolores Babcock, D. Babcock.
D. Babcock. Okay, so appointed, thank you. Item 9, Parks and Rec, which is a Town Council appointment. It's Parks and Rec, one member, 4-year term expiring October 2027.
I'd like to nominate Annie Wellington of 125 Vernondale Drive to fill that position.
Annie Wellington. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just one discussion. I appreciate the fact that we're putting forward a Democrat, but I just, and I'm trying to be collaborative, which is why we gave you another name, but Katie Wade has done a fantastic job on that commission. We really would have liked to have reappointed her, so I just want to put that out there. Again, I'm trying to be collaborative, so we did give you another name, but again, I want to stress that I fully support the work that Katie's done on the Park and Rec Board.
Thank you, Chris. Any other discussion? Okay, why don't we do a roll call on this one, Madam Clerk?
Michael Del Santo,
Yes.
Bill Dietzick,
Yes.
Jim Morelli,
Yes.
Toni Morrison,
Yes.
Christopher Palmieri.
Yes.
Jack Perry,
Yes.
Paul Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 7-0, and we thank Katie Weed for her service on the Parks and Rec Board and welcome Annie Wellington. Okay, item 10, Police Commissioners. We have one member, 4-year term expiring November 2027.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to put forth the name of Steve Kalkowski.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Steve, you're here. Congratulations. Okay, item 11, Regional Health District, 2 members, 3-year term expiring November 2026.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to put the name up for Mr. Elliot Colasante.
Second.
Okay, do you want to put up both of them at the same time, Mike? They're both our appointments.
I don't have a name for it.
Okay,
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie Conity.
Oh, right, Miss Conity.
Write down over there.
Sorry, Emery. And, yes. Both for reappointment, Miss
Second
Conity.
vote.
Okay, so it's a motion and a second to reappoint Elliot Colasante and Anne Marie Conity. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Anne Marie, congratulations. And thank you for your service in the last one. Okay, item 12. I don't see Elliot here, right? No, he's not here. Okay, Zoning Board of Appeals. 1 member, 4-year term expiring November 2027.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion for Mike Scavetta.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
So go ahead, Tony.
We have a second from Mr. Morrison for ZBA council appointment. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Mike Scavetta for reappointment?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 7. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 13, Zoning Board of Appeals alternate, 1 member, 4-year term expiring November 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Peter Cox, 3 Parkview Drive, Southington.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, to appoint Peter Cars of 3 Parkview Drive. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 14, Zoning Board of Appeals, alternate 2 members, 4-year term expiring November 2025. Let's do the the Democrat one first.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Alicia.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm looking at Zoning Board of Appeals alternate, 2 members, 4-year term expiring November 2027. My apologies.
Okay, I'll make a motion to reappoint Alicia Novi.
Okay?
Mr. Chair, I have another name as well. I'd like to nominate Anthony Mazzarella of 115 Johanna Circle. Tony is a lifelong resident and a well-respected professional and community leader. He and his family are very active in the community, and he has decades of experience serving on boards locally, regionally, and internationally. Tony is currently an executive in the financial service industry. He earned his bachelor's in organizational leadership from Charter Oak State College and is currently a PhD candidate in computer science. He previously served on the zoning board as appeals as recent as 2021. Considering his qualifications and his experience, the respect I know you all have for him, I would definitely consider his name.
Okay, so we have 2 names right now. We have Alicia Novi and Anthony Tony Mazzarella. Are there any other nominations or names?
A joint second on those, so you can vote on
I will,
Yep.
I will second
Both of them?
for Mr. Mazzarelli.
Okay. Is there a second for Alicia?
Well,
Just procedurally, Mark, though, this is for 1 seat. It's not the other seat, just,
This is one seat, so
Correct.
what happened is just like anything else, is that.
so we have a motion that failed.
When you roll call.
Yep.
If Mr.
I'll
Palmieri-
second them both.
Okay.
Second them
So
both.
What happens, now you do a roll call, and you're voting for one or the other.
Okay, so we have, Councilman Del Santo has seconded both Alicia Novi and Tony Mazzarella. Okay, so the vote, we're going to do a roll call on this, Madam Clerk. Everybody's going to respond with the name of the person they would like to appoint.
Del Santo.
Mr. Mazzarella.
Edick.
Mazzarella.
Morelli.
Mazzarella.
Morrison.
Mr. Mazzarella.
Palmieri.
Alicia Novi.
Perry.
Mazzarella.
Chaplinsky.
Tony Mazzarella. Okay, motion passes 6-1 for Mazzarella. And we need a motion also for the second one, which is a Republican seat.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Ruth Sear.
Ruth
Second
Sear.
for Mr.
Do you have the address, Tony?
No, I don't, but I'm sure she'll tell us.
103 Berlin Avenue.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Excellent, okay. So we have, for Zoning Board of Appeals alternate, expiring November 2027, we also have Ruth Sear and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. We thank Ronald Bohegan for his service. Okay, so I think we've finished all 14 there. We're going to move on to item C, Town Council Subcommittees.
For the
So-
record, Mr. Chair, if I may, town
Yes.
council subcommittees are clear in your policy and procedures. Those are appointed by the chair and the chair only, and the chair also selects the chair and the vice chair of the subcommittees.
Okay, so we've approved the town council policies and procedures, so now what I'll do is I'll just run down the names of the people who will be serving on these town council subcommittees. And I'll stop at each one in case there's any questions or discrepancy, please correct me. So for Apple Harvest Advisory, it's a 5-member board, Jim Champagne, Bob Ives, Tom Lombardi, Chris Palmieri, Jerry Triano, and we also have ex officio members, the town, we have Annette Turnquist and Jeremy DeCarly from our planning department. Any questions on that one? So appointed. Okay. The meeting of the chairs is myself, Steve Medancy, Bob Hammersley, Colleen Clark, John Leary, and Mark Shota. Economic Strike Committee is 7 members. I'm sorry. Did we get that right? 7 members? 7 members. So we have Mike Del Santo, Bob Hammersley, Tony Morrison, Chris Palmieri, Jack Perry, Wayne Stanforth from the Board of Finance, and Michael Riccio, who's the resident. Lou Perillo and Jeremy DeCarli are ex officio members of that subcommittee.
Yeah, also,
Oh, yeah, my apologies. So the chair, well, the Apple Harvest doesn't have a chair, that's an advisory because we have town staff who's chairing that.
Correct.
And Economic Strike, we have Mike Del Santo as chair and Bob Hammersley as vice chair. The EMS Services Committee, 8 members. We have Susan, help me how to pronounce her.
Lonzak.
Lonzak, as the chair. Dr. Eric Hobart from Hartford Healthcare. Victoria Triano as the town council designee and vice chair. I've asked Victoria to stay on because of the topic that we discussed a little bit earlier for continuity. Valerie DiPaolo, William Delavecche, Lou Perillo, Eric Heath, our fire chief, Jack Daly, our police chief, and our ambulance reps are ex officio. Open Space, 9 members. Jen Klock is going to chair that. Tony Morrison's going to be the vice chair. Robert Burkmo, Dinder, Cecil Whitehead, Ed Pocock Jr., Chris Palmieri, Todd Chaplinsky, and Alex Ricardone. Ex officio is the town planner and director of planning and community development.
Can you read that
Sure.
list again?
Jen Klock, Tony Morrison,
Yeah.
Bob Burkmos, Mark Dinder, Cecil Whitehead, Ed Pocock, you, Chris, Todd Chaplinsky, and Alex. Ordinance Review, 9 members. This is chaired by Bill Dietzick. Jasper Williams will join, Robert Britton, Jamie Sewell, Zaya Oshana, Val DiPaolo, Tony Morrison as vice chair, William Weber, and ex officio will be police chief and corporation counsel. Chris, this is one where we have a seat still to fill on the D side that we'll need to maybe bring at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. 7 members, chaired by Mike Del Santo, Jim Morelli as vice chair, Doug Arndt, the chief, Jack Daly, Ed Pocock Jr., Jack Perry, Candace Mazzarella, and the town manager's appointment is ex officio, public works director is ex officio, water superintendent ex officio, and building officials ex officio, as well as the police chief, because this is a 5-member board, right? Yep.
Actually, I'm sorry, water superintendent's not ex officio, I don't think, yeah.
Yes, the water superintendent is not correct.
No, he's not ex officio, he's actually a voting member.
Correct.
He's up top.
Yep. Okay, and then just for clarity's sake, I know, Jack, you contacted me beforehand. This is one where you reached out to the town attorney, and we talked and said it was okay to let folks know that you, because this was a topic last time about conflicts of interest, you cleared yourself with the town attorney on that one.
Yes, and if the town attorney wants to give a recap on that, I currently have no contracts with the town of Southington through the municipal side. The only thing I got left is Southington Schools, and I do not plan on bidding any of the work that would come through that body or this body.
Any further?
We spoke at length, and I'm satisfied based on the conversation and the research I had done that there is no conflict or even the appearance of a conflict with him serving that capacity.
Thanks. We appreciate the update on, your contracts, Jack, and look forward to serving there. Okay, self-insurance, 9 members, chaired by Joe Lebenik. Jack Perry is also on that. Tony Morrison is vice chair. Kevin Bedoin, Cecil Whitehead, Colleen Clark, Salvatore Dominello, Jen Klock, Zaya Oshana, and ex officio is the school superintendent, town manager's designee, and our self-insurance consultant.
It's also the superintendent's designee also.
Superintendent's designee, yes. Sewer committee is 6 members. That is going to be chaired by Tony Morrison, vice chaired by Val DiPaolo, also Bill Dietzick, Don Perone Jr., Wayne Stanforth, Dave Zoni, and the public works director is ex officio, as well as town manager designee, Mark, on that one? I think it's public works, right?
Sewer superintendent.
Sewer superintendent will also be ex officio. And I think that was the last one.
That is it.
Any other questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.